It's your boy, U-Goboy. That's Mongo, all right? This is the U-Goboy podcast channel. But before we start, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got unfiltered, authentic conversations. We got sports talk. We got drops. Oh, yeah. So, Mongo, what should they do?
Like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah. Yahtzee. All the talent is kind of jumbled together in a lot of people's mind. This isn't a spectacular draft class. This isn't an awful draft class, all right? This is a great draft class for rotational to good guys that could, in the right scheme, can become great. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of, stand by for it, generational guys. There's not a lot of that going on. But if you've got really good coaching, and we've talked about it, that coaching matters, this is the draft for you.
You go, boy.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga, whoa. Woo. Secure the bag, I need more. Hey, 3P, Jordan, whoa. Woo. I can't
You go, boy.
This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam. It's your boy, You Go Boy. Yes, sir, yes, sir. Another virtual episode. You see this face. It's a goatee, it's not a beard. You see that face. There goes Mongalicious. Full beard, full lumberjack, full Paul Bunyan. U-Goboy podcast, sports talk, 64, 65, who knows what number we're on now. But Mongo, how you been, dog?
Doing good. It's it's a rally beard this week because I'm growing it out until bravery lets us back. At this point, it's the we need to get back together beard.
Facts, bro, facts, man. We'll be in there for the draft super show, probably first week of May or maybe second week of May. Harlem Wizard schedule withstanding, your education schedule withstanding, but we'll be back. So let's dive right into it. This is the final NFL pre-draft show that we're gonna do before the Super Show, when we will be back in studio. Mark my words. A lot of storylines. We got to start with the first round. We got to start with all the chatter. Let's start with picks 1 through 3. Let's start with potentially Cam Ward with Tennessee. Who knows what the hell the Browns are going to do? The Browns are going to do Browns things. And who the hell knows what the Giants are going to do? Are they going to draft a black quarterback for the first time in 100 years? Who knows? Stay tuned this week on Unsolved Mysteries. What the hell is going on 1, 2, and picks 1 through 3? What happens, Mongo?
Listen, there's a reason we've seen these teams up at the top more times than not in our life, man. These are backwards franchises for a special reason. Listen, the one I really don't understand is the Giants and the idea of more and more people getting off of them drafting a quarterback. If you think Russ or Winston are long-term options or even good options, man, I don't know. Unless the Arch Manning train has switched sides of the locker room in the Meadowlands. But listen, Ward and Hunter seem like 1, 2. It looks like the party really starts at 3. Cam Ward to Tennessee to me makes sense. Why fix what seems like an obvious plan here? They need a direction. They need a quarterback. QBs go 1. That's just what happens in the NFL. I don't like personally the Hunter move for the Browns, but I get it, especially for a team that probably shouldn't be good this year. Picking a guy who is, there's only so much you can do on the edge on a bad team. And by the edge, I mean literally on the outside, right? Who cares that he's in both directions? You could put the best wide receiver and the best corner on the Titans. They're still going to stink, So, it makes sense if you're thinking, okay, let's get a unicorn now if we know we're going to be drafting top 5 for the next several years anyway. But again, to me, if I'm the Giants, I'm either getting out of that spot or I'm still looking at Shedeur Sanders, and unless I'm looking at Jackson Dart, maybe either trading back in later in the first. But again, I think that's a very weird spot for the Giants to be looking at anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting with
the chatter I'm hearing about the second tier quarterbacks that could still be first round quarterbacks. And I'm talking about Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck. Believe it or not,
Your
his
boy.
name's who's going to get a GM fired sweepstakes winner right there. um, it's because what I'm hearing is if the Browns and Giants both decide to go BPA, whatever the hell that means, and don't take Shador Sanders, because Cam Ward won, I think that's the only lock right now. The fact that Tennessee is canceling workouts and canceling visits with other people, that lets you know that it's Cam or bust. You know, they've kind of made up their mind. But I think that if the Giants and Browns both decide to go BPA, that means that they're banking on Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart to be there at the top of the second round, or possibly move back into the bottom of the first round and grab their quarterbacks there. So I could absolutely see Ward going one, Carter or Hunter going two, and then Carter or Hunter going three. I can honestly see that. I think two teams that absolutely need quarterbacks, and one of which whom GM and head coach are coaching for their lives, that's the reservation I think the Giants have, aside from the fact they don't draft black quarterbacks. I think that they're coaching and GMing for their lives, and they're just like, you know what, we better get a blue chipper, a guaranteed lock of a blue chipper first, and then take a quarterback that we don't love but we really really like because we're trying to keep our jobs. I think that's the direction that the Giants go. Browns, I never know what the hell the Browns are doing, to be honest with you. The Hunters thing sounds good, but you don't have a quarterback. And if you mean to tell me that Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe are just going to walk into the AFC North and start lighting it up, again, I got a timeshare in Iowa that I'd love to sell you. I really would, get some great mileage on it, So I think BPA is going to be the reason why you won't see Shador in the top three, if that is the case.
I mean, I think the other thing to consider is, if the Giants don't want to go BPA, moving out makes sense for them. Could another team move in there? I think to me, the Panthers come to mind right away as a team who not only are those guys BPA, but like Carter makes a ton of sense for the Panthers, right? I mean, he makes sense for a lot of teams. They come to mind first, but there is a chance that 3 goes from best player available to actual fit if it's not the Giants. So I would be on the lookout for a trade there. So again, that's why I really think the Browns could take Carter, and then the Giants really, I mean, nobody really can't use Travis Hunter, right? I mean, he has 2 availabilities. So I think the circus really starts at 3, not only because of who are they going to pick, but is that even going to be the Giants' pick come draft night?
Agreed. Like the video. Episode 60-something of the U-Goboy podcast. It's me and Mongo Sports Talk NFL pre-draft show. So I think, the wide receiver talk is getting interesting too, and the running back talk as well. Like let's just bank on those other 2 positions. I believe that. Let me get your take on this, Mongo, and I'll give mine as well. I obviously think that this is one of the deepest running back classes ever. Not in the last 10 years, not in the last 25 years, whatever Mel Kiper wants to say, or Mike Mayock, wherever the hell he is. No, he's not a GM anymore. This is an amazing stacked running back class. I don't think that's the case for this wide receiver class, but what I will say this about this wide receiver class, it's a lot better than people are giving credit for. They're saying that there's maybe 1 or 2. No, there's about 5 to 10 guys that I'm rubbing my hands like Birdman. I'm just like, get me that guy to be my number 2. Obviously, Ted McMillan, we talked about him on the last episode. Golden, I love me some Trey Harris from Ole Miss. He's like a baby AJ Brown. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Tez Johnson, I know he's a shorter guy from Oregon, but shifty. Short guys get open in the NFL. You know what I mean? Noel, too, another short, shifty guy, also from Iowa State. And, of course, Abuka, who I love. He's Nigerian, so there's bias there. Abuka is the prototypical. You look up number 2 receiver in Urban Dictionary, Abuka's just there. He's just there. He's always been the number 2. There's always been a wide receiver at Ohio State better than him, and he's okay with that. He's okay with that. You know, if you mean to tell me that before we get to our respective teams, but you mean to tell me I put my GM hat on and I'm either insert Stephen Jones, Will McClay, or Jerry Jones. You know, we like to share titles in Dallas. If I'm either one of them, and you mean to tell me that Ibuka is available via a trade back, say we get wiped out and the guys we really like, say Golden's off the board, say Tet's off the board, I'm perfectly fine trading back 4 to 5 spots, getting Ibuka and getting an extra pick. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that because Ibuka's going to walk in and be like, oh, CD, you're better than me. Okay, all right. I'll just play for 10 to 15 years and give you buku production, you know, out of the slot and wherever else you need me. So I like this wide receiver class a lot more than most of the experts do. How do you feel about it before we get to the running and in terms of the running backs as well?
Yeah, I'm with you in the sense that I think it's being treated unfairly for a couple reasons. One, very lost in because we live in a fantasy football world where tight ends naturally don't have value. It's a really special tight end class, and
Agreed.
so if I'm sitting there and those couple top receivers are off the board, I just need playmakers. I might be saying, hey, let's load up my tight end list instead. And some wide receivers might fall because of that. The other thing is you have a couple major question marks on like day 2, early day 3 of this draft that normally you're like, the number 1 guy from UTSA, yeah, he's going to go in the 4th round. The number 1 guy from Georgia State's going to go in the 6th. But a couple of these mid-round guys could make a difference in how deep this receiving class ends up looking. For example, you mentioned, Higgins. To me, whichever Iowa State guy goes second is going to be seen as a steal in this draft. If Noel goes before Higgins versus after, we're going to look back at this receiving class differently. What the heck happens with Isaiah Bond is going to go a long way. He can now go anywhere, and that could totally change this class. So there are a couple really unique late day 2, early day 3 storylines with this wide receiver class that I think are also a big reason why no one can quite give it the same seal of approval as we do with the running back or the tight end class here.
Agreed. And, I know he's listed as a tight end, but add Tyler Warren into that as well. Like, goodness gracious. Like, it's like Gronk and Kelsey and freaking Tony Gonzalez all just got blended into a hyperbolic time chamber pot. And then boom, there goes Tyler Warren. Goodness gracious, man. He does it all. He just does it all. And I don't view him as a tight end. I view him exactly how we viewed him at Penn State. He was just a weapon. He's a weapon who happened to play tight end. So somebody's going to get themselves a gem. He's not getting out the top 15.
I already bought the Tyler Warren Jet jersey that I look forward to burning in disappointment on draft night. But no, listen, you gave a little Dallas spoiler. I'll give a little Jet spoiler. There's only one option to me. I mean, this kid is special, but it goes back to what I was saying, right? I'm looking at Warren ahead of almost, maybe put him in the wide receiver list too. Yeah. So that's going to drop every wide receiver down.
Yeah. Honestly, it's going to be like a pick your flavor of ice cream. Me and you, we love ourselves some ice creams, good old fashioned American ice cream. So it's just like, it's what's your flavor? Do you want the big X receiver? We got that. We got Tevin Millen, we got Higgins, we got Savion Williams. He can't really run routes, but he's a weapon. The guy he was a running back over at TCU. You want the shifty slot guys to always get open. You have Golden, and you've got Tez Johnson, and you've got Noel, and you've got so many guys that are that Luther Burden. We didn't even say his name, because he's been, and I did a deep dive on why Luther Burden is getting so much hate. He's being labeled as not a practice workout warrior, which is the pseudonym for doesn't love football. Now, I don't even know what the hell that means. All I know is when I turn on the tape from Missouri, he looks like Deebo Samuel, but can run routes, can actually run routes. That's what I see. Deebo, even at South Carolina, Deebo was not running routes. He was just get the ball, yak boy. Get the ball, yak boy. And he was a bowling ball, just a weapon, as we mentioned with Tyler Warren. What I see with Luther Burden, I see a guy that is very similar to Deebo. I see a faster version of Deebo, definitely not as explosive and as powerful, but definitely a yak boy, faster, and I think he can run better. He can run routes, and I run routes better. I see him as a first round talent, even though he's being slid to the second by Mel Kiper and everybody else under the sun. I see him as a first round receiver. That's just me.
Yeah, my thing with Burden, and we're very in sync on this draft. We're gonna have a good time on draft night because we'll be able to trash a lot of the NFL. But I mean, listen, they're making the kick return even more dangerous to take a touchback, right? So special teams players are going to get more involved, which means if you have a guy who you want to be a route runner but also on special teams, that's increased danger, right? More odds that guy can get hurt. And then if this is somebody who can be a gadget player like how Samuel's used, well, right, it's a copycat league. And when you see Detroit using offensive tackles as gadget players, a player's gadget ability, I'll make up a word there, is suddenly way less valuable. So, I get the arguments why a GM would look at Burden and say, the skills he has are trending downward, and that's dumb. I'm sorry. The boy, right? Use your eyes. The boy can play.
Agree. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's shift to running backs. We talked about running backs obviously in the last episode, but man, oh man, again, the Ashton Genty hype is very real. I'm hearing the Bears are obsessed with him. I'm hearing that the Raiders, they're obsessed with him because Pete Carroll, he likes to draft 10 running backs at a time. There's no doubt. We'd be no shocker if he ended up in Vegas. But there are so many other just lovely, lovely running backs. I love both the Ohio State running backs. I love me some Junkins, love me some Henderson. I love Sampson from Tennessee. I love Jordan James from Oregon. I love Neal from Kansas. I love Harvey from UCF. There are so many dynamic running backs. Gordon from Oregon State. He looks like a baby Derrick Henry. It's really gonna be a flavor of ice cream. That's really what it is. What type of running back do you want? Because even Giddens from Kansas State. The Smith kid from SMU. These are converted wide receivers that we're better at running back. So let's just be that. Just be Swiss Army knives. It's a flavor of ice cream. I still believe, though, I'm going to still stand 10 toes down. You should be, if you're not going to bank on Genty or Hampton or Henderson, I believe all three of those guys are going to go in the first round. Everything I'm hearing, teams are obsessed with Hampton. Mel Kiper has mocked Hampton to Dallas for some reason, because he just sees DeMarco Murray. The Washington Commodores with Lionel Richie, they're obsessed with Hampton as well. And again, a lot of teams are going to look at Henderson as a Jahmyr Gibbs 2.0, a guy that began to find his footing toward the end of his collegiate career, but is going to be a much better pro in the right system. I see 3 going in the first round, but I believe if you want a double dip. Even Martinez from Miami, more names are just popping up in my head. If you want to double dip at running back, this is the year to do it. And I think both of our teams should do it, especially with you guys kind of being out on Breece Hall. Maybe? Raggy?
Yeah, it sure looks like it. And I think the Jets are a great place to start to kind of allude to what you're saying. Last year the Jets went to they double dipped, right? They went into the running back twice last year's draft, but they took guys who could be bell cows if Breece Hall wasn't ready, right? They went more for, what the guys did or kind of what role they played. You're absolutely right. This one is a little bit more stylistic preference this time around instead of kind of what role they play. And I am very okay with, you're absolutely right. 7, 8, 9 deep, it keeps going. For context, I'm in a dynasty football league with, buddies from high school. With shout out Wild Thing. I have four picks in the top 21 this year. I already told them unless Tyler Warren's there at my first one, I'm taking 4 running backs. I don't really care who else is there. I'll go 4 times. I don't care. Because remember, adding the fact here, when we look back, there are years where running back just gets ruined because of where those guys went, right? There might be 3 or 4 second-round running backs, but they all went to timeshares, or they all went to bad teams, or they all went to bad O-lines. there's too many good running backs in this draft. Somebody is going someplace special. This is going to be a fantastic draft, not just for reality, but for fantasy football as well, because, there's the 11th, 12th running back might be the first running back off the board on draft day. I mean, it's not first, obviously Genty and Hampton are going to go, but some of these, fantasy boards are not going to match reality because these guys who luck into spots in the 4th or 5th round are they can all handle it. I mean, the amount of running backs who could be NFL starting running backs in this draft is insane.
Agreed. Subscribe to the channel. And we've seen the effect. Well, we've known this. You and me, we've known this. It wasn't news to us what Barkley did with Philly. We saw that tsunami coming. We're like, okay, dominant offensive line, okay, quarterback, you know what I mean? Dominant receivers, playmakers galore, dominant defense. You insert a top 3 running back there, that's a Super Bowl caliber team. And they won the Super Bowl. So it's like you get the right running back in the right system, right scheme, right personnel, right offensive line. You're talking about big dividends in December and January and February football. I stand by that. I mean, and then if you take the approach of we could just get Rico Dabble and, old man Zeke and old man Dalvin Cook from Life, you put anybody back there. You'll go 7-10 and you'll be picking 12 overall, like the Dallas Cowboys.
And I'll tell you, that's what makes the Cowboy strategy last year so bizarre, right? Because last year, every time they passed on Braylon Allen, I would text you another failed draft pick, right? Because there were really 2 options starting round 3, Braylon Allen or wrong. This year, it's not even pick the right running back. It's just pick a running back. Literally, if you pick the position, it'll be an A+ at day 3 pick. It's absurd if Dallas messes this one up.
If we pass on a running back in rounds 2 and 3, because I don't think we'll take one in round 1 unless Genty's just there, but I don't think he'll be there. If we pass in 2 and 3, like if we pass in 2, better get 1 and 3. We take 1 and 2, I'm fine because I believe in round 2, Caleb Johnson. I believe Junkins is going to be there. I believe a bunch of high-end quality running backs are going to be there. It's not the end of the world if Omarion Hampton and Ashton Genty are gone in round 1. It's not the end of the world. It's not, and I've been having to talk so many people off the ledge on Twitter about that and watching so many of these experts on these draft shows and content creators saying, if the Cowboys don't get Genty, they might as well, be picking in the top 5 next year. I'm just like, there's like 25 really good running backs here. But as you said, you have to pick one. You can't be like, we'll get one in round 4. Oh yeah, we don't have a 4th round pick. We gave it for Jonathan Mingo. Okay, we'll go in round 5. We'll go in round 6. Let's check out the undrafted free agent pile. No, this is not the year for that foolishness. It's not. Take one in rounds 2 or 3 because again, since we don't have a 4th round pick, I'm gonna feel so much more comfortable, dog, if we take 1 and 2 and 3, 2 or 3, because that wait between 3 and 5 is so steep. I'm going to be freaking streaming something on Apple Plus or whatnot, or Netflix, as we wait 100 some odd picks before we pick again. That is if we don't trade down, which is also in play for us. But like you said, pick this. If you need a running back, this is the year. This is your year. This is absolutely your year.
You got to add in too Jerry Jones's pride, right? If I'm just going to pick RJ Harvey as an example, but it could be that, it could be the kid Blue from Texas. It could be any of these guys who are a little undersized in the middle, could drop a little bit. If they end up getting one of these guys in the 5th, 6th round, I mean, I said this about Rico Dowdle last year. Dowdle could have been a top 10 fantasy running back. Jerry Jones is too proud to say we're going to go with undrafted. He wants his shiny toys. He wants his trophies, and so. Finding a steal in this draft is just a guy who Jerry Jones is going to try to replace, with something more All-American next year. So you can't, it's not even a real strategy in Dallas. They need to take a top guy because Jerry needs his shiny toy.
He does. Taj Brooks, Texas Tech. I can keep going. Blue from Texas. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's
More running backs in the top 21 for me. I'm telling you right now. I'm not even going to look at the wide receivers.
Agreed. Yes, Mafia from freaking whatever that his name is from Rutgers. There's a Rutgers guy.
Yeah.
Like come on, man. Take a running back. I think both our teams would be inclined to do so. Let's talk about defense because we mentioned we mentioned, of course, Travis Hunter. I think that, shout out to Shamar Stewart. We got to talk about him. He might be a future Jet. You know what I mean? He was on All Things Covered with Brian McFadden and my main man, Patrick Peterson. I got a chance to talk to him. He's a really cool guy. 6'5" freak, tore up the combine, very low sack production. There's a lot of that in this draft. There's a lot of guys that you look at what they did in the combine and you look at the frame, like Michael Williams from Georgia. You're just like, oh my God, this is the prototypical pass rusher. They'll be like, yeah, he had 2 career sacks in college football. I refuse to buy into the floor or potential guys. I've never been a fan of potential. I'm a fan of the other P word, production. All right. What did you do in SEC play, in Big Ten play, in the college football playoff, in your 3 to 4 or 5 years in college football? What did you do? Because the tape doesn't lie, but the numbers don't either. All right. So if you're not getting sacks in the NFL, if you're averaging 1 sack a year, 2 sacks a year, 3 sacks a year, like this is why the Mike Green kid from Marshall, he's getting hammered because he went to Marshall. But I'm just like, somebody else who went to Marshall that got hammered for going to Marshall? His name was Randy Moss. All right. How did that work out? You know what I mean? For everybody that passed on him. We picked Greg Ellis because, Randy Moss smoked too much weed, I guess. That was what we were worried about, not Michael Irvin and everybody else in the White House. Go look that up, what that means. You know what I mean? But no, Mike Green had like 17 sacks last year. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm about production. I'm about the linebackers, like Schwessinger from UCLA or like a number of guys that were getting like 110 or 120 tackles. Give me tackling machines. Give me guys that production-wise, they're getting 10 to 15 tackles a game. They're getting 8 to 10 sacks a year. Give me production. I could care less about potential. Potential is the closest word to bust to me. You know what I mean? Because half these guys are going to bust anyway. You know what I mean? But it's just like, what are you more comfortable with? How do you feel about it in terms of the defensive guys? What defensive guys are giving you those vibes, Mongo?
No, we're in sync, man. I do have, listen, I have a Vernon Golston jersey. I cry myself to sleep in every now and then. So listen, I know potential as well as anybody. The one thing I will say, and this is where if we were in studio, I'd cue the X-Files music here. So you can post.
I'll add it in post.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can post that later. I do at least slightly question. We saw a number of, especially SEC games, but a couple Big Tens where it almost felt like the big dog teams were just kind of like soccer teams playing to a draw. We saw a lot of, listen, 8 teams are getting in the playoffs. If I lose 27-21, it's not the end of the world. And I do wonder if some of these bigger end teams were intentionally kind of not resting, but, I'm not going to send my players in on a sack every time where they can get themselves injured, get their hand stepped on, be out for 3 weeks, and then, miss the field of, 8. I need them in the long term. And so if this becomes a trend, I worry that this would be the year that the trend started. And that's always the hardest year to project. Right. So if I was to ever, and again, tackles are inexcusable, right? So the ones who are low on tackles, I'm with you. But these guys who, look the part but only have 2-3 sacks from some of the big, especially Georgia looked like they were intentionally trying to tie a game to a point where I genuinely thought they might have had they Pete Rose themselves trying to win money on a tie. I mean, they really played a weird vanilla style of football this year. So I'd give him a pass, but I'm with you. I'm looking for guys who, it's an eye test, right? You can just watch for 5 minutes and you go, oh, there's Abdul Carter again. There's Tyler Warren again, right? You can look at these guys and just go, they're taking over the game, and you didn't necessarily see that, in Georgia games. And I keep picking on Georgia not even I'm picking on Georgia because when we talk about sleepers, maybe in the lightning round later or something, I have a day 3 guy who I think is getting no respect because it was real easy to just not see anybody in a Georgia game, right? It was really easy to just, they came and went and you went, what did I just watch? So yeah, I'm with you in general. Give me the stats. I do think in general, and again, not to totally spoil, but one thing the Jets might want to consider, is a trade down situation. There are a bunch of teams in the middle of the first round who could use an edge. Atlanta has basically needed one for 15 years. Listen,
Been successful.
I'm,
92.
I'm still skeptical on Arizona with Josh Sweat there. I know they paid him to be a true, ace of the defensive line there, but he's been a rotational guy in Philadelphia. I don't know how he's going to do surrounded by guys like LJ Collier in that defensive end room. I mean, he might need help. And so Jalen Walker to me from Georgia looks like the sort of obvious edge above everybody else. If I'm the Jets, I'm starting a little bit of a bidding war, because if I'm one of those mid teams, I am to me, I'm with you. None of these edges scream slam dunk to me from about pick 15 down to about pick 50. You're kind of guessing, and not in a good way. I'm with you. Give me one of those. If I'm just in a position where, if I'm in BPA mode, give me the 7th best wide receiver over the 7th best edge in this draft, and it's not terribly close.
Oh yeah, facts, big facts. Subscribe to the channel. If we're playing bust poker, I'll take your Vernon Goldstein and I'll raise you a Bobby Carpenter and a Taco Charlton.
Oh,
And the only reason why I'm not going to raise you a Mo Claiborne is because he played for both our teams. Oh my God, you love to see it. You love to see it. Highest rated cornerback the Cowboys evaluated since Deion Sanders. How'd that work out? Lord.
Like a D. Milner in the Southwest.
Oh. Rest in peace, Randy Savage. WrestleMania is coming up. But no, I mean, it's trade back time. It's trade back time. I have no problems whatsoever. This is my perfect scenario. And when the Cowboys listen to me, good things happen. I said that, hey, fire Mike Nolan, hire Dan Quinn. It will work out in the long run. We got back to the playoffs. It was a disaster against the Packers. But that aside, I blame that more so on Mike McCarthy. I'm gonna give Dan Quinn a slide for that. But what I will say is, in a perfect world, if we're wiped in an imperfect world, rather, if we're wiped out and Tet's gone, Genty's gone, Golden's even gone. Say somebody just moved up and jumped us and took Golden, or say the 49ers, who they're trading all their wide receivers. You know what I mean? Maybe the 49ers take Golden. Say Golden, Tet, Ashton, Genty. Those are my 3 dream picks, rather. All 3 are off the board. I'm pulling a ripcord. I'm trading back if I'm Dallas. 1,000%. I'm trading back 3 to 5 spots, and I'm grabbing me a Buka. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you an extra 3 or an extra 2 if a team's really desperate, and you're good to go. You're good to go, because I want that Robin for CD at 12. You know what I mean? I can get him at 44, maybe, but I feel much better knowing that I get a first-round Robin versus a second-round Robin. That's second round Robin rum. You know what I mean? Like, see what I did there? But that's just me, because there's a handful of guys, again, like I mentioned, Trey Harris, Higgins, you know what I mean? But I think those guys are going to go early in the second round. I don't think they're going to make it to 44. I think that, like, teams that didn't get their wide receiver in the first round, I think they're going to go a lot quicker than people realized in the second round. So that's my opinion if we are going to trade back. And I think trading back since all of the talent is kind of jumbled together in a lot of people's mind, this isn't a spectacular draft class. This isn't an awful draft class. All right. This is a great draft class for rotational to good guys that could, in the right scheme, can become great. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of, stand by for it, generational guys. There's not a lot of that going on. But if you've got really good coaching, and we've talked about it, that coaching matters, this is the draft for you. So if both of our teams nailed our coaching hires, which we are hoping for, fingers crossed, you know what I mean? If you're in the Arch Manning sweepstakes, who knows? But if both of our teams nailed the coaching hires, this is the time for them to shine. This is the time for Aaron Glenn and his staff to shine. This is the time for Schottenheimer and his staff to shine. Like, give me some good guys. I'll turn them into Pro Bowlers. Let me cook. You know what I mean? Our GMs respectively. This is the time. Like, yo, I got you. Like, owners, you're paying me millions. I got you. Let me cook. So in terms of trading back, Mongo, You mentioned it a little bit earlier. Are you locked in on that? If you guys don't get what does wiped out look like for you for the Jets? What is wiped out in terms of like data? Well, bink, bink, bink. They're all gone. Ripcord, eject button. Like, give me that scenario.
Yeah, I think it's got to be to me the only one that is hands down kind of changes the game. To me, Tyler Warren has to be plan 1A. And I know I talked about it before, but aside from what he would do for the team, look who's right behind us. You have the Saints obviously they're at 7. The Saints are at 9. Taysom Hill is done. We've seen what they do when they have a real tight end there. And Derek Carr, the arm looks weaker and weaker by the year. He needs a buddy. And then we know that Ben Johnson needs a tight end with the Bears, right, at 10. And so you can only go so far back and still get – now, if you love both Warren and Loveland, that's different. But even they could go 9-10, conceivably. So you can't let Warren linger. But if somehow somebody goes ahead of the Jets to get Warren, because I don't think he would go 1-6 naturally. But if the Bears panicked and went up there and got him McMillan, I think, is strong enough, but even him, I'm willing to drop back a few, knowing what the other wide receiver options are out there. But to me, I think what makes trading back in this draft so intriguing is, when I was in college, and I'm going to preface this with please drink responsibly, cannot stress this enough. We used to play a drinking game where somebody would just Google a random city in the world, wouldn't tell you where it was. You'd guess the temperature, and however far off you were is how many seconds you had to drink for. You could do it, yeah, in case you're wondering, it's as insane as it sounds.
That's madness.
You could do that with Will Johnson with any mock draft you open, and he's just one of many you can do this with. The defensive players in this draft are all over the place this year, and as a result, somebody loves somebody at every pick. It's the kind of year that you can just keep dropping back a few spots because somebody's going to panic for every defensive player. So I know that the Jets could use a corner, but if you're thinking offensively, keep dropping back. Somebody's going to overpay because nobody understands how defense works in this draft because of what we were just talking about with the weird stats this year in college.
It's your boy, U-Goboy, and my friends at New York Posse. They're going to hook you up with some official gear. The Knicks are hotter than ever, and they're going to get you right with some official snapbacks, beanies, official gear, official like tissue, baby. Hit that promo code below, 2024. Get 20% off on all New York Posse gear. Hit the link below, and they're going to get you right. It's your boy, U-Goboy. Yahtzee. Yeah. Oh my God. Like the video. Because you think about it with Will Johnson, you think about with Jade Barron, from Texas, a Swiss Army knife. Another one, Ravel. He doesn't tear his ACL. A lot of people have him as CB1 out because Travis Hunter is like, no one's calling him a definitive anything. He's just a unicorn. UNC, that's his like position. You know what I mean? So you can't have him as CB1 or wide receiver 1. He's just unicorn. So in terms of just pure corners, if Ravel doesn't get hurt, he's not even in conversation for 44 for us or in the second round. He's a first round guy, and a lot of teams know that. They've watched the tape. They see a guy that this guy's legit. This guy can be a Pat Surtain-esque type of prospect, but he got hurt. You know what I mean? And they're going to hold that against him. Will Johnson doesn't want to run his 40 time because he's, for whatever reason, you know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to slide. But at the same time, I'm not faulting Will Johnson for not running his 40 time because I don't know. Did you hear about what happened with Restrepo from Miami, the wide receiver? Okay. Is a slot receiver Restrepo. Forget his first name, but I know he went to Miami. Basically, Wes Welker 2.0. All right, just a dynamite slot receiver. He's going to catch 100 passes a year.
That's right.
Tom Brady would give his right arm right now to put him on the Patriots teams of old. This guy ran his 40 time, and immediately I would have fired my agent immediately after. He ran a 4.8. All right, now he's blaming it on a hamstring injury. And if that's the case, why the hell did his agent allow him to run the 40 time with a bad hammy? Because you're a skilled position player. You're a wide receiver. All right. If you're not running in the 4.4s, because you're allowed to get away with it. If you're a bigger receiver, you can get away with 4.5. I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb ran a 4.5. You know what I mean? And it aided in his slide. You know, I think it worked out, you know, top 3 receiver, you know what I mean? But it's not the end of the world if you're a bigger receiver. I know Ted McMillan ran like a 4.49 or a 4.5 or whatnot. But again, he's 6'10. You know what I mean? How many Calvin Johnsons are out here running 4.3, or Julio Joneses are out here running 4.3 at 6'10? You know what I mean? It's just not a lot of them. They're typically in a 4.5 range. But if you're a shorter, more compact slot receiver, a 4.8 is undrafted wide receiver territory. You know what I mean? You got no business doing that. You know, so I get why Will Johnson isn't running. He's erring on the side of caution. But, you know, the cornerback market is going to be interesting, because I do believe people are going to panic, because shout out to Voch Lombardi, one of my favorite content creators. Hopefully I'll get to work with him. He works with the Dallas Cowboys now. Big time Cowboy, a content creator. Teams suck at drafting. You know what I mean? He said that. I've said that myself on our show more times than not. Teams suck at drafting. Somebody is going to overpay. Somebody is going to grab a guy that probably should go in the 3rd or 4th round, and they're going to panic and be like, oh, wow, I'm wiped out. Better get him. And it's going to get a GM fired or 2, you know? So I'm with you. But the cornerback market it's wonky. It's weird, you know, and it's not just for cornerbacks. It's for the only defensive position that is getting like love, and it rightfully so, because you can make the argument that the interior defensive line class, the defensive tackle class, it's right there with the running backs, like loaded. You know, you got Williams from Ohio State, you got Collins from Texas. Oh my God, you got a bunch of guys from Sanders from South Carolina. You got Caldwell from Oregon. You got Phillips from Maryland. You got tons of big boys inside. You know what I mean? And stopping the run is kind of important. It's kind of a reason why both our teams missed the playoffs. Well, aside from bad coaching and poor roster development and bad ownership. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But stopping the run. I know you would love to have a big nasty next to Quinnen Williams. I think that would do wonders for you guys. And, you know, I don't even count Mozzie Smith as a player anymore. We re-signed Oso Digizua. Love that move. We need a big nasty next to him. And the bigger, the nastier, the better. You know, give me a guy that can't see his feet. You know what I mean? When he stands up, I need a 300 to 350 pound refrigerator inside to help me stop the run, because you look at the teams that made it to the Super Bowl. Woo, wow. Chiefs have a big nasty there. His name's Chris Jones. He's going to the Hall of Fame. For the Eagles have 2 big nasties. Both went to Georgia. Davis and Carter. Wow. Would you look at that? Big guy stop the run. Who'd have thought? There's a concept.
And I'll tell you, one of the dumbest things about defensive tackles in the NFL is because we have the 4-3, we have the 3-4, and we have whatever this chaos of throw up defensive players anyone off the Belichick tree tries to use that Belichick invented that I still can't figure out. And so some teams go, this defensive tackle just doesn't fit for me. And so you get guys who just naturally fall because just by sheer definition, they're not being looked at by 32 teams. They're being looked at by 24 teams, 26 teams. And so the defensive tackle market always is very weird. And as such, you know, if I'm the Jets, I'm definitely thinking, I'm with you 100%. I definitely want one. But I'm thinking day 2, day 3, because a guy who might be number 30 on my big board is going to naturally fall to 45 just because of teams that are out on certain players.
Yeah, no, agreed. Subscribe to the channel. You know, I only see 3 defensive tackles that I would say I have no problem them going in the first round. Of course, Graham from Texas, from Michigan. Grant from the other one. Yeah, Grant from Michigan, the other big guy. He's a first round talent to me. You know, I like every time I do my mock simulator, I always see him in the second round. I'm just like, how? Like that guy I think he's just as good as Graham. You know, I mean, I don't think he's better than Graham, but he's in the ballpark. he's really good. Williams from Ohio State, that guy is a mountain of a man right there. He's a rock. I see those three guys as those are difference makers day one, man. And for teams that want to stop the run, it's like I'm talking like Barney and Friends, like, okay, kids, the big guy stop the run. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, you draft a big nasty to help stop the run, man. It's like, I get it. Sacks is everything. I get that. I get that. But it's like, I look at what happened to Dallas in that Green Bay playoff game, which is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. And it's like, Aaron Jones is still running because who is going to stop the run? You expect Micah to stop the run by himself? Like, Micah's my height. I'm pushing 6. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you need big nasties inside. Plus, on top of that, when you've got strong interior defensive linemen, they make your pass rushers better. They collapse the pocket. They shrink the time necessary for the offensive tackles to be able to block these super athletes on the edge. So just like this is a draft, you better get a running back or two. This is a draft, you better get a defensive tackle or two, because those are the two strongest positions, hands down, in this year's draft. And teams that miss the playoffs, like both our teams, we gotta get busy. We gotta get some of those guys for sure.
You can drop a "tell me when I'm telling lies" and post for that one. You're absolutely right.
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
These defensive tackles also, you're absolutely right about their value, and they're also some of the easiest plug and play guys. You know what you're getting out of a Michael Pierce type year in and year out, other than that one random interception. That was still one of the best things I've ever seen. But a guy can all of a sudden have a year where his sacks spike or run off. Get one of these big nasties, like you're saying, get a nose tackle, and listen, he's fat today, he'll be fat 5 years from now. Like, there's not a whole lot to get with these guys. Put them in there and just let them do their job.
Agreed. Subscribe to the channel. Who in the first round has to get it right in terms of finding their in terms of just insert position? They got to get it right at quarterback, or they got to get it right at running back, or they got to get it right at difference maker on defense. Who in the first round? Give me two teams that they got to get it right. They just have to. They got no choice.
Oh, it's a unique question, because like Tennessee, the way you're asking the question has got to get it right, right? But at the same time, if Cam Ward is a bust, God forbid, most of us are going to look back and go, I don't fault them, right? That was supposed to happen. So I'm going to kind of cheat on my answer here. For that very reason, I'm going to say the Giants, first of all. The Giants have to get it right because they are going to be the most unpredictable. They're going to be the team we're going to reserve the right to question the most. Even if they take, even Abdul Carter at 3, which seems such obvious, which I doubt they do because they have the defensive numbers, but even if they did that, it's big board, quote, chalk. We would still be sitting there questioning them passing on Shedeur Sanders until the day Shedeur Sanders either becomes a bust or, proves the Giants wrong, right? So I think even if the Giants get out of there, they have the most to lose by virtue of the most paths they're choosing not to take. And then I think the other team, and this one is my cheat code right here, whoever takes Travis Hunter, whether Cleveland passes on him, whether it's Cleveland, whether someone trades in to take him, they have to use him correctly. So it's not even about, him being taken. It's about him being used right. And I don't think anyone, if Travis Hunter is not who we think he is, more people are going to look back and blame the team than blame Travis Hunter, barring any sort of injury or scandal or anything else. And so the pressure on whatever team takes Travis Hunter is immediately skyrocketed, no matter who it is.
Agreed. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll raise you with that, because I've seen Membo get mocked to you guys more than any other offensive lineman. Please. And I know that you don't like that. You know what I mean?
Please.
And but go ahead.
Sorry, he has Pro Bowler in year 6 on his second team written all over him if he goes to the Jets.
listen, they want to. You guys want to recreate the Great Wall of Dallas with Fashanu and Elijah Vera Tucker to give you his 3 games before he tears his ACL again, and obviously with Membo. That's the goal. That's the goal. You guys, Aaron Glenn saw what Zach Thomas and what Zach Martin, goodness gracious, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and Tyron Smith. And he's like, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others. I want you to do it for me too. He sees that and he wants to recreate that. That's what I see. That's what. But the offensive linemen aren't getting a lot of love in this first round mocks that I'm seeing.
But then trade either Will Campbell or trade back, and Kelvin Banks can go anywhere, right? Go anywhere along the line. Why are we taking the guy who absolutely needs some coaching in the NFL when historically the only team over the last 20 years who might be worse at coaching O-linemen is directly across the locker room on the other side of MetLife, right? We are terrible at this. And we think because he's testing well, because he's the latest on the hype train, that's what we should be doing. It is bonkers that the Jets need to get in touch with reality, and they need to recognize there are certain types of players, position, age, talent level, regardless, that they should not be touching. And boom bust prospects, just whoever, whether it's Jimmy Hoffa's ghost watching under them from 50-yard line hell, or whether it's the ownership, which has been the only common thread. We do not do well with boomer bust prospects, and there are so many safer ways. If you want to attack the O-line in round 1, there are safer ways, but just taking him is not the solution by any means.
And I'll add to that, bro, because I'm never a fan of taking a project in the first round. You take a project in rounds 5 on day 3. Day 3 is literally the project developmental, throw darts at the board, depth rounds. That's what they're there for. Yeah, you'll find a Tom Brady there once in a blue moon. You will. They're there. You'll find your gems there. But the GMs are not, whoa, need me a starter here on day 3. The scouts aren't doing that. The coaches aren't doing that. Nobody's doing that. Now, round 1, nobody's like, man, can't wait to get a guy in here that's going to be solid in year 3. No one's doing that. What's that all about? Which is why when we did decide to draft Tyler Guyton and the year before draft Mozzie, both times my heart sank because I'm just like, okay, Mozzie's super strong, super duper strong, and he'll help in the trenches. And that's what Will McClay told me, but Will McClay is wrong sometimes too. We got that wrong. Mozzie is a bust, B-U-S-T, bust. He just is. And Tyler Guyton, I'm not gonna call him a bust yet. Same bat time, same bat channel. When we're doing the super draft show for next year, I will definitively give you my response if he is a bust or not. But he is trending to what I will say. It's just 1 year. And we're going to see what this new coaching staff, because if this new coaching staff does come in, I'll hate Mike McCarthy even more, you know what I mean? And Mike Solari and all the Mikes, because I'm just like, wow, Guyton's good. Wow, who'd have thought? You know what I mean? So, but again, stay away from projects in the first round. Just stay away from that. That's a great way to miss the playoffs, and that's a great way for your GM or your head coach, or both, to get fired. You know what I mean? So I think if you guys do draft Membo, that's a project. Just like when we drafted Guyton, that's a project. The man is 6'8". He played his entire career in Oklahoma at right tackle. He's going to be a day 1 left tackle? Raggy?
Yeah, and again, listen, this is not Draft Day the movie where everything happens in the last 16 hours leading up to the draft, right? We have been thinking, the New York Jets have been thinking about the draft since the day they learned they were going to be picking 7. And at no point should somebody, unless somebody got fired immediately for this, at no point should someone have said, hey, let's hire Aaron Glenn just in case we have to develop an offensive tackle, right? What? What are we doing? What are we doing? Just put it together and tell me why anyone would believe a developmental offensive tackle at any point should have crossed the Jets' mind.
I love you, Mongo. You're consistent, baby. Like, oh man. But yeah. So I think it's about that time. It's about that time for some rapid fire.
Let's go.
This episode of Rapid Fire is brought to you by U-Goboy merch. I'm always rocking the merch. Mongo, you gotta wear. At least give me the hat next time. At least give me that.
At least give me a seat in Bravery Studios next time. I'll wear the hat when me and Marv are hanging out.
That's in Mongo's contract. He only wears.
Give me Marvelous or give me a bear head.
You're gonna look. You look like a draft pick if you were wearing a hat right now. You would.
I would. I've been trying to get all the pieces of the Joakim Noah suit together for our draft day special, but I don't think I'm gonna have it in time.
Love it. Now we'll be back in studio for the next episode. If not, same bad time, same bad channel, virtual. But yeah. So rapid fire. We'll go quick here. Let's go 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Similar to a mock draft. First question, you Mongo. Dream picks for the Jets. First 3. Your first 3 dream picks if the Jets pick bink, 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 you're like, I'm good. You can pick Vernon Golston's ghost for the next 5 or 6 picks. I'll be great.
Yeah. Tyler Warren, you're gonna love this because I'm doubling up on Penn State and I'm going to Kevin Winston Jr. safety.
Hey, we are.
And then I can probably trade back and get this guy. This is actually my sleeper of day 3. But let's assume we splurge here. I love this kid Dylan Fairchild, the offensive lineman out of Georgia. I do think we need to take an offensive lineman eventually. And I love these kids who basically just don't have a home. They're just they are just big old boys on the O-line who can just kind of go anywhere, especially on day 3, because if they end up just being your new Wes Schweitzer, I'm not mad about it. But I think he's going to be a starter. I think he can play. And I think especially, and he may be our 4th pick. I may be cheating here by saying this, but I wanted to get him in the show. I wanted to give a shout out because I want to be right about him because I feel real good about him. But if we leave, if we leave Tyler Warren, who I think is a luxury, but we desperately need a tight end, especially with our new OC who comes from, the Ben Johnson school of throwing. I think he's a no-brainer. And then safety and O-line are definitely needs after that. So I'm definitely okay with that.
Oh, yeah, he's just listed as OL.
Right, yeah.
You guys figured it out. All right, your turn.
Cool. Either where in the draft or to whom, I'll take either or both, is Jackson Dart going?
Jackson Dart is going – he's going to be a Giant or he's going to be a Brown, and it's going to be either in the top of the 2nd round or the bottom of the 1st. And my sleeper pick, he might be a Steeler because I heard the Steelers absolutely adore him. And they love Rodgers too. I know you love that. But I think Dart is a Giant or a Brown or a Steeler. One of those 3 teams will be his team next year.
The Ole Miss color scheme and the Giant color scheme are not that different, especially on throwback days. He looks real good in Ole Miss color, so I can live with that.
Hell yeah. And if he likes bad conditions, he'll love Jersey. Absolutely. Top 3 favorite running back. Top, because I asked for favorite running backs last year, last episode. Top 3 favorite wide receiver prospects. Who are your top 3 favorite?
McMillan is number 1. I know that's kind of cheating, but I'll take McMillan 1. Give me Noel 2nd. I think he's criminally underrated.
Great.
I'll put him 2. And then shout out Nigeria. Your boy from Ohio State. I think there are certain things you can just bank on in the draft, right? Don't take a quarterback from USC. Do take a wide receiver from Ohio State, right? How many times do we have to watch other teams do this to be like, oh yeah, look, it works 100% of the time. So I would take those 3 as my top 3.
That was my Nigerian dance right there. Just missing money falling all over me like Davido. All right, good turn.
Who's your absolute favorite player in this draft who has absolutely 0 shot of being taken in round 1?
Oh my goodness. I've got a few. I'll stick with wide receiver. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Jaden Higgins. Yeah. There's a chance somebody might snatch him at the back end of the 1st round, but every mock has him at 66, in the high, low 50s, high 60s, and I see him as a poor man's Tet McMillan. He can do a lot of the same things Tet can do. They're about the same size. They're both Mr. Fantastic in terms of their catch radius. He's fast, and I think he runs good routes. But there's this separation. He doesn't get separation. I'm like, he's 6'10". He doesn't need to get separation. Like, what are we doing? But I love me some Jaden Higgins. I really do. And again, if we don't get Tet, if Higgins ends up with a star on his helmet, I'd be perfectly fine with that. All right. My last one to you, and then you give me one last to me to bring it on home. My last to you. What defensive player would you absolutely love for the Jets to pick?
If we go with Operation Trade Back, and if we especially go with Operation Trade Back twice, I am all in on Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia. He's looking right now, the Baltimore range, early 20s, is looking like where it is. So if you were to trade back to like 16, Arizona or Atlanta came up to get an edge, that's not horribly out of range. Special kid. Safety is one of those positions that sometimes people just tend to forget about, or they tend to underappreciate. So I think if he ends up going 20, I think he ends up falling out of the top 15 just due to his position. I think we look back and say he's one of the 15 best rookies in this draft. So I would be ecstatic if we trade back. You're gonna be getting texts from me saying this better be for Starks. This better be for Starks.
I like him too. Go for it. Bring it home.
How many rookie quarterbacks start a game at some point next season? Forgetting injury, assuming like no one accidentally starts an injury game. How many of the guys you think can be starters, by plan next year?
I think 2 for sure. I think Shador and Cam are both 1,000% playing. I don't see Prime isn't going to let Shador sit for a whole year. Like, I don't care where the heck he goes. And Cam's going to play too. I think that Milroe should sit for an entire year. I think Dart should sit for an entire year. Like, if Dart goes to the Rams, McVay, sit his ass down for the entire year. I only want to see him in preseason. I only want to see him in walkthroughs. You want to talk about a guy that needs seasoning. And the same deal with Milroe. All right? Because you don't know. Milroe's got the big arm, can throw it out of the stadium, super athletic, but the accuracy is -5. All right? And processing from the neck up. There's a reason why Alabama got blown out by Oklahoma last year. Like, come on. Like, he's got the tools. He definitely looks the part of the modern Lamar Jackson-esque, like, superstar. Can do a little bit of everything, but he needs seasoning. He needs to sit his ass down. He does. So I think 2 for sure. I think Cam and Shador are absolutely going to play. Dart and Milroe might end up playing a bit, but I think it'd be a mistake. They should sit. And Shuck is going to get someone fired.
Just one friendly reminder for the road. No one take that guy.
It's gonna happen because there's a guy called Will Levis who I think both of us said was gonna get someone fired. And
tell me when I'm telling lies.
Tell me when I'm telling lies. Will Levis is bad.
Absolutely right.
Oh my goodness! But that does it for this episode of the U-Goboy podcast, Sports Talk. Next time you see both of us, we'll be back in studio. Hopefully,
you better be.
We'll be back in studio at Bravery Studios. But we're gonna sign off like this. This is the merch. This is all the merch. He's got a beard. I've got a goatee. He's got a tie and a shirt. Nice shirt, by the way. I mean, we're both in our palatial estates somewhere in the Garden State. We love you guys. Draft Super Show on the way. Happy draft month, draft season. See you guys. Love you guys. Peace. Yahtzee.
Whoa. Hey, this a vibe, nigga. Whoa. Woo. Secure the bag. I need more. Hey, 3P Jordan. Whoa. Woo. I can't keep it on a low. This a whole vibe. I don't need a plug, no cosign. Thinking out loud, that's a gold mine. Mask on, yeah, COVID-19. Baby mama, yeah, looking like Rihanna. Rest in peace to George, rest in peace Brianna. Still kicking like Van Damme with my niggas in Amsterdam.
You go, boy.
Yahtzee.